And I pulled this sticker off here to pull off a bunch of paint. Texas Street Man to the rescue. He made me this a long time ago. I brought this home, gosh, when I brought home that MCI, and now there's a good place for it. Covers up all that problem. I got a new old window put in here, so there's windows all in the door now. Then we got our shock mounts here. This other side's still bolted on the bus. This is the upper mount. These are the lower mounts, and they bolt on with the U-bolts onto the axle. The bolt had broke off this one when I took it off, so I actually cut this off, welded a bolt on here, and this one's actually standard thread. The originals were fine thread. And then on this one I did the same thing, but I did get fine thread with it, but actually you can see, like right here is where it got cut off, and I welded another bolt on there because this one had broke off as well. This one I used the torch, and I had to heat it a lot, get it real cherry red to get a nut off, and then cleaned up the threads, chased them, put a new nut on there. This one's obviously got to get coated too. I did re-weld right here because I was gonna just cut this off and then re-weld it on the bus, and then I found out, oh yeah, it's welded on the back too, so it's not just gonna come off that easy. So I got the whole thing off. We got this wiring harness all patched back up that runs through here. This harness or whatever comes from the front, and then for this side drops down and then runs over here and feeds the tail lights. So that's all fixed up now. This side must run over and then up over the top and over the side. And actually, we'll be able to see that here in a moment. There's that other wiring harness in there. Drops down and comes over here and feeds the tail lights. There's a new body panel I got off of a junk bus to replace this panel. It does this whole side down to the bottom. An interesting thing about these fluted sides is that's actually, when it's got the fluted side, the rub rails bolt on top, but the fluted side is actually part of the body skin. Did not know that until now. And there's a new rub rail to go on here because this one was cut, and it overlaps this one, wraps around, and stops there. Alright, we got some working tail lights. See, both reverse lights are working, all 4 brake lights. This one's old school, just has the 2 bottom tail lights are working. One of the warning lights is out, but I got a new unit to put up there. And I haven't worked on the clearance lights yet because I want to get this rear roof cap fixed before I put any new lights on there. That's one of the new light units I have to put up top. And a couple extra red warning lights for us. Got rid of this old switch panel and put one on that's not as hillbilly. And believe it or not, a bunch of this stuff works. The underseat heaters in the back, those are not there, but the switches are there. That's for that rear heater right behind me. What is this one? Front heater? Oh, that's the one right here next to the driver. Something's hitting that fan, but it does work. Right hand defrost, that one works. Left hand defrost, not working for whatever reason. So, and then you got another heater over here. So this thing's loaded with heaters, being a tiny little bus. This is kind of cool too. This thing has the green interior, so I put in some green lights underneath to light this up. I'll show you what that looks like at night. So in here I did change, let's see, those are new breakers right there. That's a new breaker that wasn't working. Got to vacuum this out. These are the wires for that other underseat heater, which goes to nothing right here. We'll get that all fixed up at some point. But I was able to get rid of a lot of this junk. Let me show you, this just irritates me when they've got all these things just stuck here, and most of them were stuck on this side, which is the not breaker protected side. So I got those out. Took out the extra wires for that cigarette lighter that was in here. Those are the LED bulbs that I bought, all different colors, to put in here. That's what I used when I fixed the taillights, so I could figure out what everything was. There is one tail light in the back that's not working, and that's the right turn signal. If you put power to the wire, it'll light up, but the problem is the wire under here, or the wire that's underneath here for the body harness, doesn't go to anything. So it needs to be hooked to whatever it needs to go to on the dash. I'll figure that out yet. I replaced several of these latches off the windows. I got these off another junkyard bus, but a bunch of them were missing. So I replaced several of them on these windows. Still got to fix a latch in that back window. Let's see, it's cracked there, but another project yet to go. This thing had these green seats in it, and I added a green bumper to go above the door in case you bump your head, and it covered up some of the other hillbilly holes that were in this from when it was a camper. This did have these top post style cables. Anyway, I got rid of those and I put on actual stud post with a Group 31 battery because really easy, just bolt it on. That cable's taped up with red because it's actually a black positive cable, but I just taped it up with red there in the back and put a cover on it. Really easy to install. Just crimp them, and then I soldered them too, so you heat them up and pack some solder in there. Do some flux first. Don't get carried away with the flux, and then this is a piece of heat shrink over the top to make a nice connection. Did the other side too, but then I use red electrical tape to make it a red wire, so you know which is which when you change the battery. Air tank all installed, painted up pretty. It's got a new one-way valve there. I reused the connection to go in between, and then I added a valve. There's no air in this thing right now, just a smidge of air. But now you can air this thing up before you go without running it, or if you connect some more fittings on there, you can actually use this thing for air somewhere else. Yep, no air in there either. We got these body mount turn signal housings to go on here. I had them painted, and this paint's a little faded and needs to be cleaned up some. In fact, if you want to see what it looks like, this was covered with something. See how it's kind of a shiny color to it here. Doesn't quite match, but I guess it is what it is. But those go right about there-ish. So we'll get turn signals put on there. I am working on putting some turn signals on here. This one didn't have a turn signal at all on this side. This is that bumper to make your light sit kind of level. But anyway, this is all rotted out real bad on there. To make this work, I got these plates that I cut up. They go underneath like that and brace it up. I didn't really want to spend a whole lot of money on this thing for lights, and these came off of the gray bus and the Duramax bus. This is the old one I had to cut off the back. It had moss growing in it. Anyway, I took these off of the gray bus because the housings or whatever, they crack here at the bottom. They've got threads in them, and then they strip out and you can't use them anymore. So I made these little things. There's nuts welded on there. Anyway, these just go in here on the back side. You put them on the inside, and then you can thread into them, and then you can still reuse these and bolt them in. So that's what's going to go on here. A little custom fabrication work, but it didn't cost me any money. It's all stuff we already had, and make use of old stuff. So I'm going to get these put together. I did already put the new wire connectors on here, so we're going to tape that up, make that look pretty, and I'm going to put this together right now. Brand new used fender mount turn signals from a GM on an International.